all the district. All right, come on, do it.
Wife, he has children, these kids are gonna have to watch and see this. They don't look, I would be devastated if I was his wife.
They realize they're on camera, then they pull the ripcord on that moment. I don't know where he went. Can you imagine getting busted at a Coldplay concert of all places?
The executive at the center of a kiss cam controversy is stepping down.
On July 16, 2025, a stadium screen caught CEO Andy Byron and his head of HR freezing like they'd seen a ghost. Then everything spun out. Within days, damage control, exits, and an ex-employee claiming they've got receipts. Stick with me, because the timeline is wild, the power dynamics are risky, and the fallout isn't just personal, it's corporate, and it's only getting louder. By Friday morning, July 18, 2025, the conversation moved from comment sections to the only room that mattered, the boardroom. The company released a straight-to-the-point update. A formal investigation was underway. Leadership, they said, sets the tone for everyone else. And recently, that standard wasn't met. No dramatics, no names in the first line. Just a clear signal that this wasn't going to be handled on Gossip's timeline. Behind that short statement sat a familiar playbook. Directors looped in outside counsel, compliance and communications, synced talking points, HR processes were firewalled from the individuals in question. The goal wasn't to win the internet for a day. It was to protect the company for the long run. Keep customers calm, keep employees informed, keep the facts clean. Then came Saturday, July 19th, another update, decisive this time. Andy Byron resigned. No podium, no lengthy Q&A, just a transition notice and a path forward. Co-founder Pete DeJoy would step in as interim CEO. The message between the lines was simple. Leadership continuity first, crisis narrative second. Whatever the internet wanted to debate, the board had already moved to stabilize the business. Inside the company, the tone shifted from shock to structure. Teams received internal guidance about who to route decisions through and how to handle media pings. Customer-facing groups were told to keep shipping, keep supporting, keep the roadmap moving. Employees didn't need a headline. They needed to know who was signing off on budgets Monday morning. The interim answer was clear. Outside, the timeline mattered. Stadium clip on July 16. Investigation announced July 18. CEO exit July 19. That speed is rare. It told the market two things at once. The board took the governance side seriously, and they weren't going to let a drip-drip rumor cycle set the tempo. Act fast, reset quickly, communicate just enough. What the statement didn't do was litigate the internet. It didn't confirm private details. It didn't dignify every theory. It drew a clean line. Company standards, leadership expectations, next steps. In a crisis, clarity is a currency, and the board spent it where it counts: authority, succession, and control of the message. Still, the story wasn't finished. The CEO seat had a name again, at least for now, but the second name in that viral clip carried a different weight, because when the head of HR is part of the headline, the questions don't stop at the corner office. They run straight through the culture playbook and every policy it's built on. And within days, a second decision hit the wire, one that made the power dynamic impossible to ignore. The clip didn't need a press release. The internet wrote one in real time. Within an hour, armchair detectives had pulled names from memory, from old conference talks, from cached headshots on company pages. A single caption, half question, half gasp, started showing up under reposts. Is that CEO Andy Byron with HR chief Kristen Cabot Kit? The spelling wobbled, but the pattern didn't. People weren't guessing. They were cross-referencing. First came the side-by-side matches, a keynote photo here, a podcast thumbnail there, a cropped LinkedIn banner, a press quote, a panel badge with a lanyard. Viewers zoomed in on jawlines, hair partings, the exact glasses frames seen in media interviews. Every artifact turned into a puzzle piece, and the pieces fit faster than anyone expected. Then the roles crystallized, not just two people in the stands, but the CEO and the chief people officer. The titles changed the temperature of the conversation. This wasn't a random pairing. It was the most sensitive chain of command inside a company, leadership, and the guardian of policy, sitting shoulder to shoulder in a moment that looked anything but casual. Comments shifted from awkward to implications. As the clip spread, the breadcrumb hunt got louder. Users dug up cached versions of team pages. Others posted screenshots before links went stale. Her title says Chief People Officer, one thread noted, and his statement from last quarter is still on the site. Before long, another pattern surfaced. Profiles that had been easy to find were suddenly difficult. Some pages loaded, some didn't. People took that friction as a sign that the story was moving off the timeline and into crisis mode. The crowdsourced dossier grew minute by minute. A timeline emerged from timestamps and edits. Concert on a Wednesday, internet wildfire by midnight, identity threads by dawn, and by the weekend, demands for answers. Commenters weren't just rubbernecking anymore. They were tagging the company, asking about policies, codes of conduct, and what investigation would look like in a case where the two most powerful non-board roles were the ones under the microscope. And with each new post, the framing tightened. This wasn't gossip about two faces on a jumbotron. It was a story about power, access, and what happens when the people who set the rules appear to step outside of them. The IDs were the point of no return. From that moment, the narrative belonged to more than a stadium crowd. It belonged to shareholders, employees, and a board of directors suddenly in the spotlight. That same weekend, the quiet part got formal because the board didn't just watch the clip, they stepped in.
July 16, 2025, Gillette Stadium, outside Boston. Coldplay is cruising through a feel-good set when the big screen lands on a couple high in the stands. They don't smile, they don't wave. They freeze. The man is Andy Byron, a married CEO. The woman beside him is Kristen Cabot, his company's chief people officer. For half a beat, they look like they've seen the future, and it isn't good. The crowd expects a cute kiss cam moment. Instead, there's a flinch, a quick turn away, and the kind of silence that tells you everything. It lasts seconds. It feels like an hour. Then, the song rolls on, but the clip is already out of the stadium. Within minutes, phones light up. A short video, shaky but clear enough, jumps from one group chat to another. Someone adds names, someone else adds titles. A caption turns it from awkward to, wait, that's them? The algorithm does the rest. The couple's duck and turn becomes the internet's favorite freeze frame. On stage, Chris Martin offers a gentle joke about shyness. Online, there's no such mercy. Viewers replay the moment, frame by frame, hunting for tells, his shoulders tightening, her head whipping away, the synchronized instinct to disappear. Every second becomes evidence. Every gesture becomes a theory. By midnight, the story has a spine. Not just a pair on a screen, but power and proximity. The CEO and the head of HR sitting shoulder to shoulder. That combination hits a nerve. People don't just ask if there's more to the picture. They ask what it might mean inside a workplace where one person writes the rules and the other enforces them. Comments shift from jokes to consequences. Could a jumbotron moment really shake a boardroom? Could a stadium camera do what internal emails never could? Force accountability in public? The clip is short, but it opens a door that's hard to close. Speculation swells. Timelines form. The company's name trends next to the band's. By morning, the stadium moment has become something bigger. Not a cute interlude, a catalyst. A reminder that privacy has a different definition when you run a high-profile company and sit next to your top HR official in a sold-out arena. The music fades, the questions get louder. What happened next didn't unfold on a screen. It moved into meeting rooms, inboxes, and official statements, the places where a viral moment turns into real decisions. But the clip was just the spark. The fallout moved even faster. HR is supposed to be the guardrail, the team that writes the rules, enforces the code, and runs the playbook when leaders cross a line. That's why this pairing hits so hard. When the chief people officer is linked to the CEO, every policy suddenly looks provisional. Who investigates whom? Who signs off on discipline? Who protects employees if the complaint points upward? Inside any company, that relationship isn't just sensitive, it's structural. HR controls access, handles investigations, and keeps the trust channel open for people who feel vulnerable. If staff believe that channel is compromised, they stop using it. Reports dry up, morale slides. The quiet problems, favoritism, retaliation fears, uneven promotions, grow teeth. Even the appearance of a conflict can be enough to chill a culture. Boards know this. Most codes of conduct demand disclosures, recusals, and sometimes outright restrictions on relationships where one party can influence the other's career. It's not about shame, it's about power. The CEO and head of HR sit on the same seam, leadership and oversight. If that seam tears, everything else frays with it: ethics, credibility, and the belief that rules apply to everyone. So when the clip exploded, the second name in the frame became more than a footnote. It became the hinge of the whole conversation. Employees didn't just see two people on a screen. They saw the person who owns the handbook, sitting next to the person who sets the tone. That pairing turned a viral moment into a governance problem. The board moved fast on the first piece. Then came the second. By July 25th, 2025, Kristen Cabot was out. The company confirmed her resignation and kept the messaging tight: standards, continuity, reset. No long statements, no public back and forth, just an update that the other half of the leadership pair had exited too. The optics were unmistakable. Two departures in the same news cycle, closing the loop the video had opened. Internally, the focus turned to restoring trust. Who handles complaints now? Which leaders are recused from what? How to rebuild confidence without dragging the company through a play-by-play. Customers got reassurance. Teams got direction. External chatter kept buzzing, but the enterprise tasks stayed boring by design. Stabilize. Communicate. Keep shipping. Still, the culture questions don't vanish when names come off an org chart. Staff will watch what happens next, how promotions are reviewed, how investigations are handled, how the board fills the HR seat. Those choices tell a louder story than any press release. They answer the only question that matters to people doing the work. Are the rules real? The dual exits closed one chapter. They didn't silence the storyline. Outside the company walls, a new wave was building. Posts, threads, and commentary channels claiming to have inside knowledge. old grievances, even receipts. Some claims had edges, others had holes. Either way, they shifted the conversation from what's confirmed to what's being said. And that's where the rumor mill kicks in, loud, messy, and impossible to ignore. The clip lit the match. The comment threads supplied the gasoline. Overnight, posts from alleged former colleagues began circulating, some on throwaway accounts, some on commentary channels, some tucked into long story times. The tone was the same. We saw this coming. The details were not. Names blurred, dates fuzzy, a lot of heat, not a lot of light. One theme kept repeating: culture. Words like hostile, aggressive, favorites. Claims that tough questions were punished. Allegations that promotions felt predetermined. Nothing sworn, nothing filed. Just stories told with confidence and zero paperwork to match. The internet doesn't need affidavits, it needs a vibe. And for a weekend, the vibe was certainty without evidence. Then came the magic word: receipts. Commenters promised screenshots, DMs, Slack exports, meeting notes, you know the drill. Blurry images with red circles, cropped timestamps, and black bars over names that matter. Some proof looked like it could be real. Some looked like a fan edit. Almost none could be independently verified. If you've watched enough scandals, you know the pattern. Evidence appears when attention peaks, and it vanishes when lawyers ask for originals. A second thread targeted power dynamics. Not just the CEO, the HR chain. Posts claimed the handbook didn't apply at the top, that complaint routes were messy, that retaliation was a whisper, not a memo. Again, claimed, not proven. It's a tricky lane for viewers because the point of HR is quiet process, and quiet process rarely leaves viral-friendly artifacts. There were also attempts to stitch this moment to older grievances, past roles, past startups, stock options that didn't pan out, big promises that shrank at exit time. These stories travel well because they feel cinematic. Build up, betrayal, fallout. But they're hard to fact-check in real time. You can't audit a cap table from a TikTok comment. You can't confirm a PIP with a screenshot of a calendar invite. So here's how we'll treat it. Clean lines. What's confirmed, stays confirmed. What's alleged, stays alleged. If a claim rests on anonymous posts, we'll say so. If a tabloid runs a headline without sourcing, we won't promote it by repeating the punchline as fact. High retention doesn't require low standards, because there's a bigger point hiding under the noise. Perception becomes pressure. When enough viewers believe a narrative, boards feel it, recruiters feel it, customers feel it. Rumors don't have to be true to be costly. They only have to be loud. That's why companies move fast, not to win comments, but to keep contracts. And if you're wondering whether those receipts will ever see daylight in a way that counts, there's only one stage that matters: formal channels, HR case files, regulator requests, court filings. That's where screenshots become exhibits and red circles become irrelevant. Until then, speculation is still speculation. Entertaining, maybe even persuasive, but not proof. The internet may want a clean verdict. It rarely gets one. What it usually gets is a reputational drag that sticks long after the threads go cold, which raises the next question everyone asked after the jumbotron. Can you even sue over any of this? The cameras, the privacy, the viral blast radius. That's the legal minefield, and it's where the rumor cycle meets reality. Can you sue a camera? Not really. Not when you're in a packed stadium, under house lights, holding a ticket that says in microscopic print that you may be filmed, recorded, and broadcast for any purpose. Arenas post that warning on signs, tickets, and websites. It's standard. You walk in, you've agreed. That's the first hard truth of a viral moment. The venue already bought the right to point a lens your way. Privacy law starts with a simple test. Did you have a reasonable expectation of privacy? In a sold-out concert bowl? With a jumbotron the size of a building? That answer is almost always no. The classic privacy claims, intrusion, public disclosure, false light, tend to fail when the setting is public, the footage is brief, and nothing confidential is exposed. A kiss cam doesn't open your medical chart. It shows you in a public place doing public place things. What about right of publicity, your image used without permission? That usually hinges on commercial use, ads, endorsements, a team selling your face to pitch soda. A fleeting in-show clip for fan entertainment is different. It's editorial content inside the event. The bar to prove they exploited me to sell a product is high, and a crowd shot rarely clears it. Maybe defamation then. That requires a false statement of fact about you. A shot of your real reaction isn't false. The internet's conclusions might be, but the camera didn't say anything. It just showed a moment. Even false light claims, cousins of defamation, stumble unless the presentation would be highly offensive and clearly misleading. A cutaway a concert broadcast is rarely that. Could someone try intentional infliction of emotional distress? People try everything, but courts look for conduct that's extreme and outrageous. Routine event coverage doesn't fit, and even if a lawsuit got filed, the defenses are sitting there. Consent via ticket terms, no privacy expectation, and a legitimate news entertainment purpose. That's why legal talk online burns hot and then fizzles. Most stadium clips don't become viable cases, they become reputational problems. And reputation is the battlefield that matters here. Vendors Google you, candidates Google you, boards hear from investors who watched the same clip your aunt saw on Facebook. Contracts don't need a judge to wobble. They wobble when counterparties worry about headlines and turnover. So the smarter question isn't can you sue, it's how fast can you stabilize? Can you separate facts from speculation, show a functioning chain of command, and keep customers confident that shipping schedule and SLAs still mean something? That's where damage control actually lives. In governance memos, in all-hands meetings, in the quiet updates to who signs what. And it's why the company moved quickly. Public investigation, leadership change, then clarity about how the work continues. The court of law was never the primary threat. The court of consequence was. Procurement desks, renewal cycles, recruiting funnels, and trust. Those decide whether a viral clip is a moment or a meltdown. Which takes us to the bottom line every stakeholder cares about. The business, revenue, roadmap, who's in charge on Monday morning, and how they keep the lights on Tuesday. That's where the real fallout shows up next. In 48 hours, a niche tech brand became a household name for the worst possible reason. Not for a product launch, for a pause button on leadership. Procurement desks started asking new questions. Who signs now? Does support change? Will roadmap dates slip? Those aren't trolls. Those are the people who renew contracts, or don't. Recruiters felt it next. Candidates want momentum, not mess. Competitors circled, a DM here, a coffee there. If you're thinking about options, we're hiring. Reputation is a currency. It spends itself fast. Inside the building, the math was simple. Stability first. The interim CEO stepped up, set a tone, and made two priorities crystal clear. Keep shipping, keep customers calm. No grand speeches, just a chain of command and deadlines that still mattered on Monday. Teams rallied around work that proves continuity. SLAs, patch windows, feature flags turning on when they were supposed to. Not exciting to watch, but exactly what a shaken customer wants to see. Boring reliability in a loud week. Meanwhile, the brand was everywhere. Headlines, talk shows, meme accounts. Search traffic spiked for the name, but not for the product. That's an invisible tax. Every salesperson had to spend 5 minutes on the story before they could spend 1 on value. Investors don't love chaos, but they do love discipline. The board's speed. Investigation Friday, resignation Saturday, signaled grown-up governance. It didn't erase the clip. It did show control, which is the only thing that offsets virality in the eyes of the market. There's also the culture cost. People remember how a company behaves when it's under pressure. Clear policies, clean recusal lines, transparent updates, those choices become the new folklore future hires hear, whether the place is principled or just reactive. And the product? It still has to earn oxygen. In a moment like this, the only way to turn down the noise is to ship work customers actually feel. Uptime that holds, migrations that land, outcomes that make renewals automatic. Noise hates momentum. The jumbotron made them famous. Operations decides if they stay credible. Which leads to the next chapter, the one that isn't viral, but matters most. Who leads next? What they say, and how fast trust can be rebuilt. 10 seconds on a stadium screen turned into 9 days of consequences. A clip on July 16th, an investigation on July 18th, a CEO exit on July 19th, an HR resignation on July 25th. That wasn't gossip winning, it was governance moving. The camera made it viral, the board made it real. Along the way, the story split in two. On one side, what's confirmed, titles, dates, departures, and a company trying to steady itself. On the other, what's claimed, anonymous posts, old grudges, receipts that talk louder online than they do on paper. One path lives in statements and filings. The other lives in threads. Know the difference. The pairing at the center, CEO plus HR, is why this hits so hard. Rules aren't just words in a handbook. They're trust in motion. When the people who write the rules appear to bend them, the whole system feels optional. That's the real cost of the jumbotron moment. Not a meme, a crack in confidence. What happens next isn't cinematic. It's boring on purpose. Clean policies, clear leadership, shipping on schedule. You don't fix trust with quips. You fix it with decisions that hold when no one is looking. If those decisions land, this becomes a case study. If they don't, it becomes a cautionary tale. So here's the question I'll leave you with. When power and privacy collide in public, which matters more, spectacle or standards? Drop your take below. And if you want to follow up on the CEO search, the HR rebuild, and which signals mean the culture is actually recovering, say the word. I'll track it. Until then, stay curious, stay skeptical, and watch the decisions, not the discourse.